Okay, thank you, Marcia. Welcome, everyone, and we really appreciate you being here. I'm Michelle Erickson, the Executive Director of Wisconsin Literacy and Wisconsin Health Literacy, and this is our second virtual annual meeting. So we're really glad to be together again. I know in the future we're going to do this back in person. Maybe that's next year. But we have a lot to cover, so I am going to just jump right in with introductions of our staff and board. I know some of you were here early this morning, but for those of you who weren't able to attend earlier in the conference, I'm really pleased that we have 8 of our current board members attending this morning, still this morning yet. And we have 2 new board members elect who will join us next June. And they will be representing all of your organizations on the board. So I first will welcome Steve Munt, who is our board chair from American Family, and he's going to be coming to you in just a minute via a recorded message. Aaron McCann is our vice chair, and he's an attorney at Godfrey and Kahn. Melinda Orbaugh is here. She's our secretary and is so kindly taking minutes for us today at this meeting. We're really appreciative of that. Julie Firstbow from Chippewa Valley Technical College is here as our fund development chair, and Jessica Doyle, lifelong educator and former First Lady, is our governance chair and is joining us as well. We will hear from Dennis Winters, board representative and DWD's chief economist, toward the end of the annual meeting. And John Gilgenbach from our member agency representative, the Adult Learning Center in Milwaukee, who joined our board last June. Liz Hart, a member agency representative from Literacy Chippewa Valley. And then we also welcome Julie Schultz from the Menominee Tribal Education Center as a board member elect, and Eric Johnson from Milwaukee Public Library's drop-in literacy program. And Eric and Julie will be joining the board, as I mentioned, in June for a 2-year term. So our staff, many, as I said, already you know, they include our regional literacy consultants and community coordinators. So Marcia and Beth, Anna, Shannon, Cassie, that cover all the regions, 5 regions around the state. Liz, our data and communications manager, and Debbie, our director of finance and administration, and Heidi Frankson, our development director. And we really are excited to share that we just hired a new virtual math instructor, and Stacy Martin from the Chippewa Valley will be joining our staff and providing virtual math instruction to GED program students across the state. And our health literacy team includes Stan Hudson, our director of health literacy, Caitlin Mowat, our health literacy project manager, and Bhumi Kamholja, who is our medication and label project manager. So I just have to say that Wisconsin Literacy is very fortunate, and Wisconsin Health Literacy, to have a very dedicated team. So we're going to jump right in, and we will need to have a motion from the floor to approve the 2020 annual meeting minutes. And another reason why we're really glad to have Melinda here is, as we were doing our first virtual annual meeting last year, we didn't think about the minutes. And so we had a video link that we sent you all a couple of weeks ago with the agenda. And we're asking for a motion to approve those as minutes from the video link from the 2020 annual meeting. So can I get a motion from the floor for approval of those minutes from 2020? You can just unmute yourself. And
there is a motion from Jake.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, we have a motion from Jake in a second.
This is Holly. I second it.
Thank you, Holly. Okay, it's been motion seconded. All those approved the annual meeting minutes 2020, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed? Okay, I think we're in good stead. So today's agenda includes, again, as I mentioned, a word from our chair on our strategic plan for Wisconsin literacy. This is a 3-year plan that we have just adopted recently. And also you'll have a chance to hear from local programs that were part of our vaccination community outreach grant this summer. And the RLCs will share about new opportunities for some local programs and corrections via additional Department of Children and Family funds. And we'll also hear from Dennis Winters regarding labor shortages in Wisconsin and the need for skilled workers. As I mentioned, Dennis is the chief economist at DWD and a member of our board. And we hope after his talk just to have a few minutes to go into a few smaller breakouts to discuss what this really looks like locally or in your corner of the state. So with that, Liz, you are welcome to launch Steve's recorded message from again, this is our board chair, Steve Munt.
Hi, I'm Steve Munt, board chair for Wisconsin Literacy. I'd like to thank Michelle for giving me a few moments to speak with you at your annual meeting this morning. First off, I want to thank all of the agencies, your staff, and your volunteers for the great work that you're doing to promote and enhance literacy across the state of Wisconsin. While I know the need is great, I also know many lives have been changed, dreams realized, and literacy achieved due to the work that you do every day. So once again, thank you. Also, I wanted to update you on the work that the board, as well as Wisconsin Literacy and Michelle, have been doing over the past year. One key area we focused on was updating the strategic plan for Wisconsin Literacy for the next 3 fiscal years. While some things changed, excuse me, some things remained the same, like our vision of changing lives by strengthening literacy statewide, and our vision that all people in Wisconsin have the literacy skills to reach their full potential. There were some things that we changed. In particular, we created 3 key focus areas that that the organization will focus on over the next 3 years. First off, our first focus and strategy area is in partnerships and programming. And our expected result is strengthen and expand relationships with community-based organizations, businesses, foundations, government agencies. We want Wisconsin and Wisconsin health literacy to play a key role in helping organizations and communities create spaces and programs where all are valued and have the opportunity to grow. To that end, the team is preparing for increased growth over the next year, as well as some key infrastructure and operational changes that will help to support and utilize some of the partnerships and programming that we have already taken on. Our second strategy is around communications and messaging. Again, we want Wisconsin literacy and Wisconsin health literacy to create and communicate compelling and inspiring messagings to stakeholders. Our expected result here is to increase and enhance the frequency and quality of our communications. We want to raise awareness of our work to strengthen our partnerships and raise more funds. You can already see that these key strategic areas and focus areas have some interplay, as we know communication is a key portion of improving our programming and our partnerships, and also ties in to our last strategic focus area, which is development. Our goal is to raise and increase our unrestricted donations twofold by 2024. We want to increase the number of donors and the amount of unrestricted revenue. And these unrestricted dollars will be used for the purposes of building capacity, increasing the sustainability of our organization and programs for the future. And to that end, we already are beginning our giving season by focusing in on Giving Tuesday and the Big Share, which were 2 of our largest unrestricted giving opportunities throughout the year. So again, thank you so much for the time this morning. I apologize. I not only couldn't be there in person, of course, but I couldn't even be there live on Zoom. But I am looking forward to touching base with Michelle and finding out what you were able to talk about and getting an update from the meeting. And finally, thanks again for all you do to promote literacy and increase literacy across the state of Wisconsin.
Thank you, Steve. And I think on the agenda next, we're going to move into some sharing of opportunities. I believe that first that we are going to hear from some of our members that have been participants in our program through Department of Health Services over the summer to do COVID vaccination community outreach. And I think we have some volunteers that have been part of this program over the last, it was a 5-month program, April through August 31st. And I'm going to let them speak up, and maybe our RLCs can guide their introductions.
Let's see, Anne, are you on the call from Literacy Partners of Kewaunee County?
I am.
Would you start?
Sure. This was the first time that we partnered with Wisconsin Literacy in a statewide project like this. It was really amazing, more than we could have hoped for. When you're a partner in a project like this, you're automatically almost entwined in this amazing web of support. Not only do you get the great Wisconsin Literacy and Wisconsin Health Literacy employees help, but the members that are going through this and doing these projects with you in their own organization are willing to share ideas and materials and things like that. I know for us, it was great when I would ask a question, we would get information from other groups. We're really working towards the same goal, just in their part of the state. It was amazing to share resources that Wisconsin Literacy created, as well as ones that we created, so that we weren't all, reinventing the wheel. And that gave us more time to implement the project, which ultimately leads towards results. It was great to see the actual impact that we had, because Wisconsin Literacy had reporting documents and things that were ready for us to use right away. So again, that's something that we didn't have to spend time creating. And this was an area of health literacy that, although our health literacy committee is pretty active, we may not have delved this deep into something in this area that we may not have done this if it weren't for this partnership, but I'm so glad we did, because it not only affected our students, but so many people in our community, and we definitely saw the impact so far, and we're going to continue with the project even though this partnership is done.
Great, thank you, Anne. And then I think Stacy from Buffalo Pepin Literacy Alliance is also available to talk about how you worked with the vaccine outreach program.
Hi guys, this is Stacy. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Well, if I turn my video on, sometimes my audio goes bad. So anyway, my name is Stacy Hartung. I'm the outreach coordinator for Buffalo Pepin Literacy Alliance. We are a small but mighty literacy organization supporting Buffalo and Pepin counties. So highly rural counties. Just a little bit of COVID info for us. We are collectively high risk and sitting around 50% vaccination. So as context, we were definitely motivated to participate in the project. So when Shannon and team asked us to sign on, we kind of jumped at the opportunity. The first thing that we really spent time on as a group was developing a mission statement. So really what that boils down to is we wanted to educate and inform and not influence decisions. So that was really important for us. As educators, we really wanted to keep our focus on sharing information and developing skills in the community so that people could make educated decisions on their own. So everything we did was really kind of filtered through that prism, which was a really important step for us, always having kind of a North Star to go back to. We definitely are, we saw the impacts of COVID. So we are a group that is almost 100% made up of tutors and learners of at-risk age. So COVID was definitely influential in our programming. So pre-pandemic, we were 100% in person. So we have a very vested interest in trying to get back to in-person learning, and we see vaccination as a key piece to that. So definitely motivated from a program standpoint. Benefits for us, Just repeating what Ann said, having access to other networks and literacy groups who are working on similar challenges, sharing resources in short order, learning. I think my favorite training was developing tools to have difficult conversations. We know this is a very polarizing topic. So we were all really excited just to have better and more engaging conversations with our community members, but with our families as well. So that was a huge takeaway for us. Things that we really focused on in that space were sharing your personal stories, finding the courage to kind of share your point of view, but in the same regard, being an active and empathetic listener. It was really great to just kind of build on those skills. Support from Wisconsin Literacy is always awesome. So like Ann said, it really wouldn't have been possible in a short, 5-month span to really execute a project of this magnitude. So we're thankful for them, for the resources. We're thankful for them sharing resources that we created with other groups. It's fun to see content you create that other people share on their social media campaigns. So that was the first for us, which was pretty awesome. We found partnership with other local community organizations to really be paramount for us working on the project. So schools, hospitals, our departments of health that support the counties, worked very, very closely with them. And really, again, our focus was education and information and not influencing. So we'd sign on to do it again for sure. We grew so much and learned so much. And it's really helped to move our community forward. So we're just thankful for the opportunity from Wisconsin Literacy, Wisconsin Health Literacy, and Shannon, of course, who was an amazing partner to us.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm going to invite Noel Brown from Casa Guadalupe to talk about their experience.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Marsha, for the introduction. My video is not working, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So yeah, thank you for inviting me to speak about this. Thanks to the others who shared. I feel like I'm going to reiterate a little bit of what they said too, but Casa Guadalupe Education Center is a nonprofit organization in Washington County. So yeah, just north of Milwaukee, Waukesha, and to the west of Ozaukee County. So we work with primarily a Spanish-speaking community, Hispanic Latino community, through a variety of different literacy and education programs. But of course, since COVID, we have done different focuses on our health literacy. We have a bilingual community health navigator that is employed. So before COVID, obviously there's different initiatives and focuses. Since COVID though, we were doing virtual for a while. We've been dipping our toe back into in-person, taking precautions, of course, currently. When we found out about this opportunity for this initiative to promote COVID vaccination among the community we serve, we definitely wanted to jump at this opportunity. We're so grateful for it. We've done a variety of pop-up vaccine clinics, and we've been able to utilize the great information in English and Spanish, again, just promoting the concrete facts about the COVID vaccine, and that was shared through Wisconsin Literacy. So we communicate in a variety of ways with our clients. So we utilize that information. We are either, messaging it to people, texting or WhatsApp is really a good way of reaching out. We also have like a Facebook group with some of our clients where we posted information. Our community health navigator is vaccinated, and she has 5 children over the age of 12 who are vaccinated too. So that was helpful as well, as she was continuing just to share her experiences. I shared my experiences with clients because I know everyone has different questions, they have different thoughts on it. We really, as someone mentioned before me, it is a polarizing topic. I felt though that our clients though that we were talking to were never like extremely anti-COVID vaccine, but just had questions, just like hesitations about how am I going to feel, you know, after it and everything. And so again, we were able to share anecdotal experiences, but also sharing the concrete facts to kind of, you know, dispelling any myths, working closely with our local Washington Ozaukee Public Health Department as well. So within the time frame of the grant, we were able to vaccinate 95 individuals, ages like 12 and older, because during that time, of course, Pfizer came up with the vaccine for 12 and older. So, and we've continued it since then. In September, actually, we had a health fair and continued to offer vaccines. Outside of the pop-up clinics we did, there were also other clients of ours who went on their own to get vaccinated, you know, at their local Walgreens, places like that, once more of it became more accessible. So we were also through the grant able to offer some incentives. I know as the months, the weeks went by, we kept hearing about more and more incentives, you know, higher like dollar amounts and everything, or, you know, gift cards that, you know, people were getting. You know, the state of Wisconsin recently offered like $100 incentive, but we were able, you know, during that time period of the grant to utilize some of the funds for incentives, because we knew that that could certainly help encourage someone to make that decision and help motivate them. So again, we're so grateful to the Wisconsin Literacy. I apologize, I am home right now with my sick kids. You might hear them in the background. We are just grateful again for the support from Wisconsin Literacy in this area. Again, I feel like we focus a lot more of our energies on distributing and disseminating the information, more so through technology and like phone calls, and then having the actual like, physical pop-up clinics. But just a really great experience. So thank you again to Wisconsin Literacy.
Well, thank you, Noelle. And Katie from Ozaukee County, if you would just take a minute or two to tell us anything different in your experiences with this.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, I was going to take a little different angle. Obviously, what everybody said, I completely echo. But one of the benefits that we found to be a part of this program, which was kind of surprising but wonderful at the same time, was that it gave us, I don't want to say an in, but an opportunity to reach out to other nonprofits and organizations in the community, whether it was school or businesses, again, nonprofits, the public health department. So people that if we just would have kind of cold called would and asked to meet with them to learn more about the Literacy Center, they may not have wanted to do that. But it opened a lot of doors for us to make connections. And now we're seeing a lot of benefits for that, just for the organization in general and people learning about us. So obviously we are happy with the helping promote vaccine information, but it provided us with this great opportunity to just connect with others and have a real reason to sit down and meet and share more about the Literacy Center in general.
Thank you, Katie. So thank you all who participated, of the literacy agencies that participated in this program. I am really excited to announce that DHS has received federal funding from the Center for Disease Control, CDC, and has asked Wisconsin Literacy to contract with them regarding this continuing education around COVID vaccination through health literacy, science literacy, and digital health literacy. And so we are really excited to start a new vaccination community outreach project that will be 3 years in the making, or 3 years in the grant period. And we are inviting our literacy member agencies and other community organizations that serve targeted communities that have low vaccination rates and in counties that have low vaccination rates to apply for sub-awards. And these will be, again, a year-long, well, over 3 years, but the involvement will be a 1-year contract with Wisconsin Literacy in a sub-award. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the health literacy session that's following this session. As a matter of fact, it's the same link that you're on right now. If you want to know a little bit more information about the opportunities for that, they will be much more significant than the summer program that that you just heard about from some of our member agencies. So we're excited to learn more, to share more about that with you. And now I think I'm going to let our regional staff also share additional opportunities for involvement through additional Department of Children and Family funding that Wisconsin Literacy received. So we have 3 different areas that we're working in around that additional funding from Department of Children and Families. Anna, do you want to start?
Sure. Could I ask that whoever was sharing the agenda to bring that up again, please? Just to kind of help me keep track of where I am. Thank you. So for workplace literacy and employment skills, the state of Wisconsin, the DCF received some federal funding to start a program called the Wilson Fish TANF Coordination Program, and that is for refugees in the state of Wisconsin to help connect them to employment. And when they received the funding, there was not an opportunity for literacy programs to get funding to join into the project. We were invited to partner, but without any kind of financial support for the program. So we received an opportunity to get additional funding through a different channel through DCF to support TANF eligible individuals. And that's a federal program, targeted assistance for needy families. And we received that funding, or we've been receiving that funding for years, but we had an opportunity to get additional funding. And so what we did was we asked if we could use some of that funding to help connect our literacy programs who work with refugees to the Wilson Fish program. And we received that funding. So the Wilson Fish TANF Coordination Program targets specific counties within the state of Wisconsin where the most refugee resettlement happens. And so we reached out to our literacy programs in all of those counties and invited them to be a part of this project. And so what's happening is we have, I don't know off the top of my head, we've had 5 or 6 literacy programs across the state who are participating, and they're building workplace literacy classes specific to refugees, or employment skills training programs within their agency to support refugees. And in most cases, these programs are also available to other individuals. So you don't need to be a refugee to attend those classes or programming. And we're going to have some professional development and networking opportunities around this program as we move forward, and we will invite others to attend as well. So for example, we are going to do some networking around developing workplace literacy classes and partnerships, and we'll invite all of our membership to attend those meetings as well. So that's the workplace literacy and employment skills. In addition, when we asked for additional funding for that project, we had the opportunity to ask for another project, which is the math instruction. And so this idea came out of a conversation that I had with a member in the past year, where they had to cut back staff due to COVID, and wanted to reinstate their GED program, but were having trouble finding a math instructor. And so with all of the virtual work we had been doing in the last year, we thought, this was an opportunity to take these new virtual connections we've been making and our experience working with new platforms, and to experiment. And so we're running a pilot where we're connecting a math instructor who can do live instruction with a number of our members who may be looking to offer math, but don't have the access or resources to a math instructor. And so Stacy Martin, who I see is on the call, is our math instructor. And so she's in the process of developing that pilot program. If you are interested in learning more about this opportunity to offer math to your program, please let me know. And Beth, do you want to talk about corrections?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm taking, oh, there we go. Yeah, so we received funding to expand the support we offer to corrections education. So for the past several years, we've been able to support prison and jail programs with GED supplies for their TANF eligible learners. So basically any incarcerated parent who is studying for their GED can request resources. And often in the correctional setting, that's consumable workbooks or GED calculators or study buddies, different technology that is appropriate for a correctional setting. So we are working to onboard some new jail and prison programs because we've got extra funding. So if you are a literacy member and you partner with a local jail for GED programming, please do get in touch with me. We would love to get you set up with some GED support. This is similar to other GED funded programs where you complete a quarterly survey. So 4 times a year. It's a pretty brief survey though, especially for the resources that you're able to access through the funding. So again, I'm Beth Gaitan, and so reach out. So I see a comment in the chat. So does a book club count? So that's a really good question. We are able to offer some limited support with book clubs as long as all of the learners who participate in the book club are GED learners also. So that is an important distinction, that this funding really is focused for GED learners. But we do have some GED programs who have a book club within their GED program, and we're able to offer support. So that's a good question. But if you have questions, reach out to me or to your RLC and they can put you in touch with me.
Thanks, Beth. And I'm just gonna reiterate that the reason that this additional funding came, which we really want to be able to share with our members, is because of the work that you do, and the most important, the reporting of your annual demographics, where when we advocate, we can demonstrate our statewide impact on the number of adults that you're serving. The demographic survey this year does show a big decline, and we know that that is in large part due to COVID. So I just want to encourage you to make sure that you are feeling supported and capable of keeping those demographics and filling out that annual demographic survey. It makes such a difference when we can advocate with data that reflects the impact of the amazing work you guys are doing. So with that, I am happy to introduce Dennis Winters. And Dennis has this wonderful presentation that he gives. I've heard it in a couple different places now. I know he delivered it in August to the Governor's Council on Workforce Investment, and we've had him share with us the reason why all of our member agencies might be thinking about, while we're educators, really also thinking about how we can uplift our students and our communities and employers around the state in this particular interesting and historic time in terms of the labor market and the changes that have been so dramatic over the last year and a half. So Dennis, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, Thank you, Michelle. And all of you, thanks so much for partnering and all the work you do, because this is so critically important of how we do things. And I'm the chief economist for the Department of Workforce Development, and I've been working on essentially economic and workforce development issues for quite some time, even before I came into this job. And it's something that I've been talking about. If you read the papers, you're hearing a lot now about the quantity shortage we have, or I call it the quantity challenge, something I've been talking about for probably 20 years. I published on it, out of the University Business School back in back in 2000. So I'm giving you some information here. Thanks, Liz, for getting up the PowerPoint. And I'll run through this fairly quickly. Just kind of gives you the basics of what it is that I look at and we look at here about the underlying problems that we're having in both the quantity and quality side of the workforce at this point. This slide you have here in front of you, how jobs are tracking. I just put this up to let you know kind of where we're at, and I put it up in this form for a number of reasons. One, you can see the seasonality that we see in these job numbers, where they're usually low in January and they ramp up into the summer and then kind of tail out for the rest of the year. The white line there is where we are at now. And there'll be more data coming out, in the weeks to come and such and so forth. But another couple of lines I wanted to point out. One is the yellow line. The yellow line is where our job levels were in 2007. As you remember, 2007 was before we went into the Great Recession, right? The largest recession since the Great Depression, and we thought things were bad everywhere. And the red line is where jobs fell back down on the bottom in 2010 in that recession. You can see the purple line. Then this is what happened through the pandemic, and you can see how far it fell, how quickly it fell, and the fact that it's come up some. But we are still in so where it came up essentially last year. But what you can see here is you compare the white line to the yellow line. We are essentially even now with job levels we had in 2007. So that's essentially, we've given up 14 years of job growth as we've moved forward here. And are they coming back? Yes, they're coming back. Are they coming back as rapidly as we would like? No. And we're hoping that will all turn around as we get through the subsequent waves, whatever the situation will be with the pandemic that's going on locally, nationally, and globally. So, and there are a lot of ramifications about that. You can imagine behind every one of these slides is a seminar in itself. But let's go to the next slide, Heidi or Liz, please. And I think I'm actually going to skip that one. And if we can go to the next one. With the blue line, yellow line graph. I've been using this graph for about 20 years. It's kind of becoming known as Dennis Winter's blue line, yellow line graph. And what I want to point out on here is a couple of things. The yellow line is Wisconsin's population, from 1960 projected out to 2030. And you can see it's been increasing, right? And will continue to do so. There's a little change in slope there between the time when the greatest generation were having kids and the time the baby boomers were having kids, but then it's kind of picked up. And we expect that the population to continue to grow. The blue line, however, that's Wisconsin's workforce. And you can see how it's flattening out, may even go negative by 2035. And as I started this, right, we were back in 2000. We knew when this was going to happen. We knew why it was going to happen. We knew how it was going to happen. I joke the only thing we knew with more certainty was Y2K, because this is all demographic data. And like I say, every hour we know everybody's going to be an hour older, and so that's pretty easy to track. And so as this goes through, we knew when this was going to come, and we've been talking about it for quite some time. And now, as you look at that, we're up 2021, and that curve's pretty flat. So 3 things about the blue line. One, we've never had to worry about it before. We've never had to worry about a declining, flattening, much like, declining workforce before. 2, it's not going away. Like I say, this is all demographic data. We know exactly when it's going to happen, why it's going to happen, and what the future holds. And the third part about it is that if we do not raise the productivity of the workforce, and we have a limited workforce, if we can't raise their productivity, we can't pay them anymore. And if we can't pay them anymore, they can't buy anything else. And if they can't buy anything else, we're not going to hire people to produce product that's not in demand. So unless we can match talent with technology and skills with demands, we're looking at a possibly stagnant workforce. I don't think that's, economy. I don't think that's going to happen because of technological advance, but we're not going to have that in Wisconsin unless we match up the skilled talents of the workforce with the skills needed to run the technology. So this is why we're at where we're at. Like I say, we knew it was going to start to bend down in 1998. It did. There was even evidence about this back as early as 1986. So this is the crux of all the problem that we have is on the quantity side of things. So let's go back a slide, Liz, to the one that I skipped. And nah, I haven't got time. Let's go forward. Go too forward now. We can come back to this if we've got time or questions. So let's go back to the 4 solutions, or forward to the 4 solutions. So this is what we look at essentially for solutions to the quantity issue. And I'm going to talk about the problem is a macro problem, not a micro problem. So we hear about wage increases, benefit increases, pet insurance, all this kind of thing to try to get workers to go to a particular firm, and how firms are trying to attract particular workers. Those are all microeconomic problems or solutions in the sense that how can we attract them better in here and at the firm level. Well, the problem we have is the quantity challenge, right? It's a macroeconomic problem. We just don't have enough bodies. So if you can attract the math teacher into IT into your firm, great. It used to be we just fill that math spot. We can't do that now. We don't have the people. So it's a big game of musical chairs that at some point, some employer is going to be minus a worker. So 4 solutions to this macro problem. One is offshoring, right? Taking the production offshoring. That was something we've been working on for about 30 years, but in that case, it has been more of a cost management and margins and profitability arrangement. So now it's changing to a workforce talent. The only problem is that the pandemic is global. And even the sources out of China, Malaysia, Vietnam, South Asia, everywhere have been impacted by the production they can put out. And you've certainly heard about, all the supply chain problems that's generating. So offshoring is one possibility, although the movement currently is against that. But we'll see once we get through what I call the next normal, because there's been so many new normals that we don't know what we're going to see. Another solution is immigration. America is still a place where a lot of people want to come, and we have to take advantage of that. And this is a lot of where Wisconsin literacy and you all step in, because English is a second language. These people don't have a lot of literacy skills, numeracy skills, perhaps when they come to the country, and certainly they have to adjust to the language. So extremely important prong as we go through here. I'll come back to that in a second. So the other one is eliminate barriers to the chronically unemployed. And what I mean by this, and we all know a lot of the barriers, there's housing, there's transportation, there's daycare, and there's skill sets, of which literacy is one of those barriers. So if we can get that part of that segment of the population literate up and into the skill sets that we need for the future, economic development, that's another thing we need. And again, Wisconsin literacy can step way into that. Yeah, the next thing is technology. We've always had increases in technology, raising productivity, and we see that going forward. We're just hoping that some of the increments there will accrue to the workers and not just the capitalists as we go forward. But it's very important with the technology that you have to have the workers' skills match that technology, and they have to match it, and they have to have it at the same time. Because if you have the worker, right, and no job, the worker goes away. And if you have the job and no worker, right, the job goes away. So they have to match, the technology and the labor force talent have to match, and they have to come together for it all to stick and advanced things we're going at there. I'm going to skip the Buy American one because that hasn't been too successful up in the past. So next slide, please, Liz. So we talk about immigration, and this is what the situation looks like in immigration in Wisconsin. We finally, just the last few years, have had a positive net migration into the state of Wisconsin. But you can see here, if it wasn't for international immigration, Wisconsin would be losing population, and even more critically, right, some of the workforce. So again, immigration is a solution to this, and Wisconsin Literacy and all our partners are a solution to put those immigrants into a position where they can learn, skill up, and advance themselves in America's economy. So that's what I've had. That's what I have prepared. I can certainly take any questions on any of this up to this point. But again, the thing I want to emphasize is it's a macro problem. It's a quantity challenge, and the solutions to it are different than what we're usually used to using in the past, and they're not going away. So we need a whole different kind of model to figure out how we're going to advance not only the state's economy, but the national and global economy as well. Like I say, this is just not a function. The quantity problem is just not a function in Wisconsin. It's the whole upper Midwest. It's the US as a whole, primarily Western Europe, the developed countries, and even China has their workforce is topped out. So even for a country with that population, their talent and their workforce is topped out, and their population may be topping out in 2050. So, and that's why they're rethinking their, now they're going to a 3-child policy. But so the talent is a global scarce resource, and the competition for it is going to be increasingly intense. So with that summary, then I can take any questions if there are any, or if you want to give me the time to answer any of them.
Yeah. We've got one question or one comment here.
Sure.
It says immigrants are saving our economy. What's the best way we can share this data in our communities?
Well, there's a number of things. I mean, there's a lot of literature out here. Some quite some time ago, I think it was Richard Longworth wrote a book on hollowing out the middle, and it's essentially about the Midwest. And how a lot of, especially food processing industries through the Midwest, and a lot of the towns in which those industries were located, those firms were located, wouldn't exist today if it wasn't for immigration, because those are the workers that took those jobs. And the other part of it is, I mean, show them data like this for Wisconsin and the graph, the IM and migration graph. We need immigration, and business community is crying for immigration for the most part, because they need the bodies, they need the workers. My adage is, it's kind of like we got to find every body we can and get everybody trained up to their max, for the reasons I stated earlier. And there's another data series. I mean, if you look at this, if it wasn't, it's slightly different data series on the migration part of it. From a different source and a different way they get it. But if it wasn't for Illinois, immigration from Illinois into the state of Wisconsin, Wisconsin would be losing population domestically in the US. And most of that migration back and forth is Minnesota into Wisconsin and Illinois into Wisconsin, and then Wisconsin going, both ways out. So show them the data, show them where we're at. I was showing the blue line, yellow line graph and that immigration graph to start.
Dennis, can I share that PowerPoint with people from the session, post session, so that they kind of have that resource and they can use those graphs?
Oh, sure. So let me go back to, if we can go back to either don't use or go back to graph or slide 2, if you can pull all that up again, Liz. Because this just so, and I'm just doing this so they understand the data. If they use this, they can always eliminate the graph, but it talks about workforce, and of the, there's 1.5 million, 1.5 million people. Yep, thank you. 1.5 million people in Wisconsin that don't want to be in the workforce, or are not in the workforce, I should say, and 1.4 million of those don't want to be. So as you boil all this down, there's something I kind of can't, let me pull on mind. Of all this, as you shrink this down, there's only 22,000 people right now in Wisconsin that want a job and are available now to take a job. So there's not this huge amount of people on the sidelines. And if you look at that, out of that 1.5 million, 1 million of them are 55 years and older. So that's part of this demographic thing going forward, right? So they've got limited tenure if in fact they're going to be working. And the way the state of the economy and their portfolios right now, well, I could go on and on like this, right? About everything behind all these slides, but the crux is that the people are not there. Yes, you can use these slides as you want. We have a ton of information that and as Michelle attested, you know, I've given this talk in various detail and lengths to various groups around the country and certainly Wisconsin. It's tough to get a short-winded answer out of me.
Any other questions for Dennis? We thought it might be helpful. We have just about 9 minutes left, and we thought it would be helpful just to do quick breakouts where you can talk about what this looks like, or as you think about what this means for your local agency, the students that you serve, the people in your community. So I think Liz is going to put us quickly into breakout rooms. We'll spend about 8 minutes.
That's the plan.
Okay, go ahead, Liz.